Well, coming up on today's show, the Tesla Model 3 Configurator finally opens in Europe. Rivian add a third EV to their lineup, and the 2019 Kia eNiro gets its UK pricing. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. In fact, wherever you are in the world, welcome to EV News Daily. It's a Thursday, 6th of December. It's Martyn Lee here. I've been through every EV story I can find, so you don't have to. And thank you, as always, to myev.com. They do help me make this show, and if you haven't checked them out yet, do check out the world's first marketplace, built from scratch, from a blank sheet of paper, all about electric cars, buying, selling, learning and researching about them. It's a free marketplace, by the way. I know lots of these kind of used car websites and stuff, they charge you, don't they? Nah, not in this brave new world we're living in. Check out myev.com to connect you with either the car or the buyer that you want. Coming up on tomorrow's show, the podcast I recorded today at Tesla in London. It was the first day of a 2-week run of the new Model 3 being on display in a showroom for the first time here in the UK, both London and Manchester, and available for reservation holders to go and see. I got to meet some lovely people who were waiting for theirs. I caught up with Robert Llewelyn from Fully Charged. He was there bright and early as I was, and he had a good chat with me for tomorrow's podcast, and the state of all things Tesla in his opinion, and what's in store for the Fully Charged YouTube channel next year. And met some reservation holders as well. A couple turned up to be first in line as well, a fellow Norwich City fan like myself. You can hear all of that tomorrow. I'm still in the middle of making it, by the way. I want to get it out today, but just not going to get a chance, unfortunately. Podcast listener Richard Graham sent me a few photos of his trip, but he was in Manchester, and it's the same spec car as I was looking at today in London. Did I finally see the right-hand drive model with the CCS Combo plug? You can find out tomorrow. But for now, on with the news. It's been a long day. My day started at 4:30 this morning, so that I could be at the Tesla service centre, the showroom, early doors, first there, and well, not first there because Robert Llewelyn beat me to it, but he was there waiting and giving the coffee machine a good workout. But still, it's been a long day. It's almost midnight here in the UK, and so let's crack on with the news. To start with news, a few things that I was told this morning for the Model 3 reveal in the UK, but which was on the understanding of you can't talk about it till it's public, and it finally is now, and it finally happened. The configurator has gone live in Europe, but not in the UK, by the way. I guess that being right-hand drive, not quite ready yet. Model 3 customers can now configure. Yes, if you are listening in Europe and you have had your money down, get online. Look out for that email. Look out for the invite. I don't know if that's still what you need to do. Then get on that configurator. France, Norway, Sweden, Netherlands, Germany, Spain, and more confirmed so far. The rumours I'd heard were true as well. 2 models to choose from: dual motor performance, dual motor long range. Those are the cars first on sale. Of course, long range batteries for both of those. I did ask Tesla today, what about things like the mid-range, which surprised us all, and even by the time the UK gets it, so in less than a year's time, but it will be late next year, I imagine. What about the standard range? And for now, the reply they said was the pattern in Europe will be, unsurprisingly, exactly the same as the pattern over the last year in the US. So we start with those people that want to get their hands on the higher spec cars and the premium cars. That's going to be their priority. And I totally understand that. Here is the number of the day, by the way. It's the WLTP test cycle. If you're listening in the USA, it's what the EPA, it's what we have now. It's brand new as of earlier this year. Way more accurate than we've ever had. I still think the EPA rating is better, by the way. But anyway, WLTP, a little optimistic. They confirmed today it's a great number. I mean, it's a big, big number for the Tesla Model 3. 544 kilometres. That is 338 miles. That's big, right? That's for the dual motor long range, or slightly less, 330 miles, just knock 8 miles off for the performance version. Consider that the official Tesla line on the Model 3 is always 310 miles. And you can see maybe how the European test cycle flatters it a little bit there, more generous. Although talking about battery sizes, it's something which has obviously stopped now. They don't badge the Model 3 with the battery size. A reminder, it's a 75 kilowatt hour battery in the Model 3, although you won't find that in any of the marketing materials. They would much rather we moved away from the numbers now, and we talked about long range. 0 to 62 officially in Europe, 3.7 seconds, marginally slower than those real-life YouTube videos that you might have seen, people putting on different tyres and different conditions and getting it damn close to 3 seconds, 0 to 60. So in Germany, I think the price in Germany pretty indicative of Europe, 57,000 euros for the 3D and 68 and a bit thousand euros for the P3D. Of course, start adding your paint choices, and that can add 2,500 euros for up to multi-coat red. Delivery in Europe for the Model 3, confirmed, starts Feb. I saw one quote, and it was on a car magazine website, said starts the beginning of Feb. Everything else I've seen, including my experience talking to Tesla today myself, they said starts Feb. So I don't want to say early February, because that was, I don't know, maybe someone using artistic license or confused, or maybe that website is correct. In the UK, that roughly translates, by the way, the price, if you just do a translation, £51,500 for the 3D and £62,000 for the P3D, respectively. That's the kind of translation of that, and hopefully, fingers crossed, next year we'll still have the plug-in car grant to take £3,500 off new cars. However, there is some doubt over whether that will either be in place, and of course this is more than £40,000, so clearly that might not even apply as well here in the UK. However, deliveries in the UK, earliest, I reckon, summer 2019. I wouldn't be surprised if that slips a little bit. If you're a UK right-hand drive reservation holder, not long to wait. It's so close. I think it'll be a little while longer yet, though. Moving on, and Tesla's giant Gigafactory near Reno might go from making the batteries to making the cars themselves. Business Insider reported today that Tesla plans to manufacture the new Model Y, which is the SUV, by the way, the baby SUV. It won't be that small, but it'll be smaller than the X, at the factory. At the Gigafactory, reports Nevada Public Radio. Internal documents from earlier in the autumn, in the fall, showed that the company, I don't know who got hold of these internal documents, were planning 7,000 Model Ys a week at its factory when it's at production at the end of 2020. A spokesperson from Tesla replied to that article, said the information was completely outdated, but didn't explicitly deny that the Model Y would be made at the Gigafactory, Sparks, Nevada. However, that was outdated information. Well, last Saturday on the podcast, our Saturday special was a bit of a listener takeover. Brian and Sherry were in the UK. They live in California. They are supporters of this podcast on Patreon as executive producers, and they dropped me a line to say we're going to be in London on our vacations. They came to the EV News Daily studios, had a good old chat and a chinwag, and they had recently, Brian had recently done a tour of the Gigafactory, and please go listen to that show. It's less than 20 minutes. It's fascinating. They're both Tesla owners. She's had her Model 3. Sherry's had it for a year almost, and was a really early reservation holder in California as an existing Tesla owner. Brian's impression, by the way, I will tell you this. His impression of the Gigafactory is mind-blowingly vast and has so much more room to expand into. So although there's been no confirmation of where the Model Y will be made, definitely an option. Moving on to Rivian. According to Rivian, the R1T, which is their electric truck, unveiled at the LA Auto Show, and the R1S, S for SUV, is going to be joined by yet another car. We thought we were just going to get a truck, then we got a truck and an SUV, and now the vehicle fits the mould of almost like a rally or an off-road rally performance car. According to Eric Loveday at InsideEVs.com, says the third offering from Rivian won't be as large as the SUV, the R1S. Rivian says the wheelbase is going to be smaller. It'll look like a lifted car. A lot of ground clearance is given. High performance is too, as Rivian only intends to offer vehicles with long range and mega horsepower. They're not interested in going down the bottom end of the market. Expensive, but very nice cars. So this is something smaller, shorter, but taller. This is going to be a very, very quick off-roader. Can't wait to see it. Any more, Rivian? Maybe unveil a fourth while you're at it. A car that many people lust over, and I must admit, it is gradually going on my wish list. Mrs. Lee has taken it off my wish list many times. I might be doing a bit more driving in the next year, and as I've said to you before, I do so little driving at the moment that we purposefully have one car, one EV between us, because it would mean that there's a car pretty much always sitting in the driveway. So I get public transport because I just don't need a car. However, and so I don't want to get too tree-huggy about it, because we used to have 2 cars, and then when one of them would just... I'll tell you the story quickly. Sidebar, digression. I got in it once, the battery was flat. I hadn't driven my car in weeks, and I thought, this is ridiculous. So I sold it. And we do just fine with one car between us, because I'm on the train to London every day, which is a 2-hour commute. Anyway, back on topic. The Kia eNiro. Oh man, that is a beautiful car. It's the nice size, 64 kilowatt hour battery, great range. Check out the recent fully charged video with Johnny. Check out Bjorn Nylands in South Korea as well. They all say very good things about it. It's going to go on sale in the UK from April 2019. Prices start at $32,995. The official range did just drop, though. The official range on the WLTP test cycle, it's sadly not Model 3 beating. It's got a smaller battery, admittedly, and it's an SUV. They got the test cycle a little bit too skewed towards the urban bit of it, which flattered the mileage. So the official range has now dropped to 282 miles. Look, I'm 40. That's still more than bladder range. According to Luke Wilkinson at Auto Express, the new Kia eNiro is going to get to dealerships in April next year, and it's going to be $32,995 after the government's £3,500 plug-in car grant. From launch, you can only get the big battery, which is fine. I wonder if on the Hyundai Kona, many people even bought the smaller battery, 39.2 kilowatt hours. Most of them are going to be the big one anyway, so they're only going to sell the 64 kilowatt hour battery pack, 201 brake horsepower electric motor. So again, you know, less than half of the Model 3 performance, but half the price as well. That Model 3 performance doing, oh, now I'm picking numbers out of the dim and distant bits of my brain. 444 brake horsepower, I think. Correct me. This isn't a pure Tesla podcast. There'll be someone who knows more than I do listening going, you're wrong. Well, the Kia eNiro is going to do 0 to 60 in 7.5 seconds. It's going to top out at 104 miles an hour, which would still lose your license here in the UK. And if you need to carry more stuff, the Volkswagen A Crafter could well be the van for you. Van operators who are interested in finding out more about making the switch to electric vehicles for their commercial vehicles can get a knowledgeable boost from the experts at the EV Experience Centre in Milton Keynes. And to get a real taste of what's coming up, you can now see the Volkswagen A Crafter this weekend. According to Automotive World, the A Crafter has been tailored to typical city operations. So it's got 100 kilowatts of power, 173 k's of range. That's about 107 miles of range. It tops out at 56 miles an hour, definitely for the city and last mile deliveries. I'll put a link to that article in the show notes if you want to read more. And finally today, we'll stay with Volkswagen. This on any other day, on any other week, even 6 months, 9 months ago in the world of EVs, this would have been front and central, front page news. The world would go crazy about this statement, but it just goes to show how much other good stuff is around at the moment that this story sort of got lost this week. And it's the biggest story, potentially, that we talk about all week. Volkswagen plans to introduce their last ever generation of fossil cars in 2026. So admittedly, those cars are going to be produced for some time. Okay, we know that. They're going to have a long investment cycle on those fossil factories and those engines they're building. But the minute a car comes off the line in 2026, there's going to be no more investment in the next platform of fossil engines. That's going to be it for Volkswagen. No new generations after that. According to Mark Kane at InsideEVs.com, the German manufacturer will focus purely on electric cars after that, which in volume will be produced from 2020. Of course, the new platform being the MEB platform for double-digit models under several brands. So the MEB platform being used across many things. So of course, it's going to be the VW ID, maybe it'll be called the Neo, but the Buzz and the Cross, but maybe you'll also see a nice new Audi based on it. Maybe you'll see a nice new Skoda based on it as well, etc., etc., as it spreads out and around the VW group. Huge news that just sort of seemed to get a bit lost this week. 2026, the last ever fossil cars they will start to build. Let's get on to our question of the week. This is your bit of the show, and I'd love you to take part in it if you can. Send me your answer by Sunday, because we read them all out on Sunday and set a new question. Thanks to myev.com, they've set us this week's brand new question of the week. Keep your comments coming in on email and on YouTube, and indeed on myev.com. If you click on the research bit at the top, you can always leave your comments on that website. Would you be interested in knowing more about the availability of EVs in China if they were to be sold outside? And the US and EU is what I said earlier in the week on the podcast, and then somebody in New Zealand went, what about us? Okay, so I'll change it. Would you be interested in knowing more about EVs from China if they started selling them outside of China? And what would you need? Some sort of warranty? Like I remember the Korean cars, like the Kias and stuff, when they first started really focusing on selling them here in the UK, they would come with some crazy long warranties, and it would get people interested. They competed on price and also on, was it 8? I forget, it's like 8 years or something warranty. And so what would you need? Some sort of guarantee? Some sort of service network? Let me know. You can email hello@evnewsdaily.com. Thank you to the 128 patrons of the podcast. They make this show possible. You can see all of their names from executive producer level upwards on every single show notes, by the way. Thank you very much to all of those. And you can add your name to it by going to patreon.com/evnewsdaily if you want to be part of the gang as well. There are 317 previous episodes online for free where you get your podcasts from. If you, in return for me making this, you could leave a little review, like a star rating, a few words. Let me know when you listen in your review, maybe how you consume it, what time of day you listen, what sort of news you like to hear. It's good feedback for me as well. In the meantime, say hi on the socials by searching EV News Daily. Have a wonderful day, and I'll catch you tomorrow.